It's X Factor time. The players who have to step up and show us something this season for the Magic to accomplish their goals today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 4th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we've talked about the stars. We're going to get to the stars later this week again too, but I want to talk about players we haven't talked very much about this offseason that have to step up for the Orlando Magic to accomplish their goals, because it's going to be depth that gets the Magic where they want to go. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We truly appreciate all of our Orlando Magic dailies who make Locked On Magic part of their podcast rotation every single day. Join the crew. We appreciate you all. All part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We know that the stars matter. Like, let's be clear about that. The Magic are going to go as far and as well as Paolo Banchero takes them. And we've talked a lot about where Paolo needs to improve this season. The Magic are going to go as far and as long as Franz Wagner takes them. And we've talked a lot about the areas that Franz Wagner needs to improve. They're going to go as far as Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs integrate into this team. And we've talked a little about them and what they're going to provide and all that. Those four players are the Magic season. The Magic have high-end potential because of those players, because of what we believe that we could count on those players for, even on bad nights, even if they don't get better from last year. The Magic are expected to be the 3 seed because of that top-end talent. But if you go around the internet, if you go around and listen to the early predictions, yes, there's a lot of hype about this Magic team, and I don't want to continue to put water on the fire here. There's all these questions about, okay, how do the Magic take that next step? Do we really consider them Eastern Conference championship contenders? Right now, it feels like Cleveland and New York are 1 and 2 and in their own little grouping. You won't find many people, and this is, again, fair, you won't find many people that will say the Magic are going to compete with the Cavs and the Knicks for the top seed. You'll find people like Zach Lowe, I think, said this. I think Rob Mahoney of The Ringer said this. You'll find a lot of people that say, yeah, if everything clicks for the Magic, if everything goes right for the Magic, they could get to the NBA Finals. They could get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not outside the realm of possibility. But what's at play? What's at stake? What matters here is that the Magic still have work to do. They still have a lot of questions to answer. And so today, let's talk about the players who are going to be expected to step up, because I know I mentioned this on the Locked On NBA Squad show. I believe that published. Maybe it didn't. If it didn't, it will later this week. I spoke about this on the Locked On NBA Squad show, and when they asked me about what I thought about the Magic and whether the Magic could be that surprise team, I was like, the top-end guys are really good, but I have a lot of questions about this team's depth. I have a lot of questions about whether bench players who have not proven themselves ready are ready to step up. And to me, this is the point of the whole thing. If the Magic are going to be championship contenders, and I do mean championship contenders, as is, if everybody just comes back at what they were last year, the Magic should win home court advantage in the first round. They should win a playoff series. But that team isn't going to compete for the Eastern Conference Finals. That team isn't going to take that next step to be really considered, oh, this is a championship team in the making. And let's be very, very clear, that's the direction the Magic want to go. The Magic have a lot of questions to answer to get us there, to get us to that point. And so I think that ultimately the Magic season, yes, it rests on Paolo's shoulders. It rests on Franz's shoulders. It rests on Bane and Suggs. It rests on a lot of those guys. And we talked about Wendell. We did a whole episode on Wendell Carter and the centers. It rests on these players taking steps up. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why this is a critical season for Anthony Black. We're going to talk about why Jonathan Isaac could really turn this thing around. Why getting anything from Jett Howard would be valuable. Why Tristan da Silva is really, really in a big spot, a much bigger spot than I think people realize. And whether the Magic have the kind of season that we all think is possible starts with them. Let's be really, really clear that this is a huge season for Anthony Black. And so that's who I want to start with. Anthony Black has had a fine first 2 seasons. He's proven himself as a very high-level defender. He has done really well, staying out of the way. Like the Magic have done a good job covering for his weaknesses and simplifying his role and putting him in spots where he can be successful. But at the end of the day, we're 2 years into Anthony Black, and I don't think we know what he is. I don't think we know what his potential, what his future is. I don't think the Magic, and I think this is the important thing, I don't think the Magic know exactly what he's worth and exactly what they can count on him game after game, year over year. Now, look, he is a young kid. He's very, very, he's still got a lot of room to develop and a lot of room to grow. So let's not go crazy. I'm not saying sell the stock and all that stuff. The Magic obviously resisted a lot of calls to trade him over the course of the last year. But last year, Black averaged only 9.4 points per game. He shot only 42.6% from the floor and 31.8% from three. Yes, there was a little increased volume. He was taking more shots. That gave him more responsibility. But his offensive game never matched his defensive game. And at the end of the day, the Magic didn't know what they could count from him. The splits are really telling. In the 39 wins that Anthony Black played in, he averaged 10.7 points per game and shot 47.4% from the floor and 40.8% from three. If the Magic get at, obviously, those were all in wins. If the Magic get that Anthony Black, they're going to win a lot of games. If that's what he's averaging, 10, 11, 12 points per game, 46, 47% shooting, high 30s to 40% from three, they're going to win a lot of games because that means he's not only giving you that defensive boost, he is making those shots. Because in 39 losses, Black averaged 8.1 points per game and shot 36.7% from the floor and 21.7% from three. In the playoff series against Celtics, Black averaged 8.2 points per game, shot 40.5% from floor and 2 for 13. That is 15.4% from three. At the end of the day in the playoffs, the games that mattered, the Magic got the losses Anthony Black rather than the wins Anthony Black. And to me, the thing with Black is that he doesn't understand how good he can be. I love that kid to death. He is just a really good kid. There is a little bit of a confidence of, he doesn't quite know how to assert himself yet. And so look, this is year 3. This is extension eligible summer. He'll be extension eligible next summer. The Magic are going to have to make a financial decision on him. So there is not an insignificant amount of pressure on him to prove his worth. And to say the least, if you look at that bench, Tyus Jones, Anthony Black, Tristan da Silva, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner, Goga Bitadze, the Magic need Anthony Black to score off that bench. They need to find a way to replace what they lost in Cole Anthony and frankly, to boost that bench scoring, at least until Mo Wagner is back up and running. Anthony Black is going to be put into that role. And again, this is this is the big thing about the Magic's bench is guys are having to slide up a spot, especially young players. Anthony Black and Tristan da Silva, most especially. And so to me, this is a spotlight season on Anthony Black. It is not just, oh, he's got to prove his worth so that the Magic can understand what to offer him in extension talks. And, again, right now, I don't know what you offer him. He's going to make about $10 million in the last year of his rookie contract. That'll get bumped up to at least 15. But is he 15 to 18? Is he 18 to 20? This stuff matters, especially with the Magic's finances being what they are. Anthony Black has to begin to put all these pieces together. And the moment he does that, the better he's going to fit and the better this Magic team is going to be. It's a big season for Anthony Black. And the Magic, they won't go as far as Anthony Black will take them. But a better Anthony Black season has the potential to take this team from their nice 3-4 seed to, oh, we're competing for the 1 and 2 seed. Oh, they're winning a conference semifinals and they're going to the conference finals. The same could be said for Jonathan Isaac. Is he ready to bounce back? Well, the Magic need to see better from Jonathan Isaac coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. When you're tracking your money, you're not surprised by anything because you know where it's going. You can see that you're spending too much on takeout, that you're spending too much on subscriptions, and you can adjust your spending levels and adjust your behavior because you have the knowledge of where your money's going. Putting it all in one app makes it so much easier to manage your money day to day, and that's what Monarch Money provides. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. In a lot of ways, a big part of this coming season for the Magic is about bouncing back. Look, I think we'd all agree if Paolo Banchero doesn't miss 2 months, if Franz Wagner doesn't miss 20 games, if they don't have the oblique injuries, the Magic have a very different season. Now, do they still win 47 games? Are they still the 4 or the 5 seed? I'm not ready to answer those questions. But very, very clearly, I think the Magic dropped a level or dropped a tier of teams because of their injuries. And it wasn't just that there was these injuries to the Magic's massive stars, and obviously this was still a pretty flawed team and a team that had some things it had to work on. It was a team that had players who did not live up to their potential, live up to the expectations that we had for them. All of those players need to step back up this season. I talked about Anthony Black, and he's maybe in his own category. He did take a step up this past season, maybe not the full step the Magic were hoping for, but he took a step up. Like Cole Anthony obviously took a step back. He's not on the team anymore. Contavious Caldwell-Pope obviously really struggled, not on the team anymore. But like Wendell Carter, career worst scoring numbers, played better in the playoffs. So, maybe there's an injury thing and he just need to have a healthy summer, be on a healthy team again, have his role more clearly defined. There's all these things. A lot of players they need a bounce back season, and especially for this Magic team. And I think that's part of the equation here is the Magic are going to have to start making some decisions on guys. And part of the strategy the Magic had and part of why they did things the way they did them was because of they needed salary slots. I know I talked a lot about this last year when the Magic re-signed Jonathan Isaac and re-signed Wendell Carter, is you got to have the salary slots to make trades. And so the Magic, because free agency doesn't matter anymore, or free agency isn't as important, the Magic put faith in themselves and put faith in their own guys to continue improving and continue to retain value. And guess what? Certainly a year out, and Jonathan Isaac is in the second year of his 2-year deal. Wendell Carter starts his extension next year. A year in, both of those deals don't look very great. And so, again, it's not just about transactions. I do agree with the notion that the Magic are going to be paying the tax anyway. There's no sense worrying about tax cuts or the moves you have to make because of the tax. There's no sense of worrying too much about those or fretting about those or just overreacting to those right now, because right now it's about let's see what we have and see how good it can be and then adjust from there. So I'm not sitting here saying that as if like, oh, we need to plan the next 3-4 years out. We can't do that, number one, because of the Anthony Black extension, because of Paolo's contract. We can't do that quite yet. But it is imperative that these key players take a step up because the Magic are invested in them at a pretty high level. Look, Wendell Carter's contract is what it is. He's going to go from about $10 million to $18 million in the 2027 season. And that's still underpaid for a starting center. I want to make that very, very clear. The Magic, if Wendell Carter plays anything near a starting center, that's still a bargain deal. It's just a question of whether that is the starting center the Magic need. And this is, we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago now. This is a big year for Wendell Carter. Just as it is a big year for Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac obviously did not have the season he wanted last year. There's just no getting around it. He averaged fewer minutes per game than he did the previous year. Even though he got through both seasons healthy, he struggled to stay on the floor. And while I think the national media thinks that's because of his health, it wasn't. It was because he was a low 20s three-point shooter. It was because the Magic were fine on defense. They didn't need the elite defense that Jonathan Isaac provides, but he wasn't making the kind of defensive impact that makes up for what he was not doing on offense. At the end of the day, like, I know I said this a million times during the rebuild phase of things. At the end of the day, you need to have players that are elite at something. And, for the longest time, I would say, there are better players on the team than Jonathan Isaac, but Jonathan Isaac is the only person that does anything at an elite level. He is an elite level defender, rim protector, whatever you want to call it. And last year was the first time, while Jonathan Isaac was healthy, at least, last year was the first time that Jonathan Isaac wasn't elite. He was just merely very good. And you go down the numbers and you look at all the stats, and he's still very good on defense. But clearly something didn't click last year. And Isaac pointed to the weight as something he struggled to adjust to. There is a sense that he is going to get back to a more comfortable playing weight. The Magic are going to kind of abandon the center idea that they had with him. The idea now is Jonathan Isaac kind of reclaiming that spot. And look, I think he'll bounce back. The question is, because he's never had this consistently, is can he give you something on offense? And I think that's ultimately where Isaac's fate lies. Look, he's still got 3 years left on his deal. And while there are non-guarantees in those contracts, those non-guarantees are games played guarantees. There is no reason to think Jonathan Isaac won't hit those games played guarantees anymore. He's had 2 straight healthy seasons. I believe that incentive has become a likely incentive now. I don't even know if it's categorized as an incentive, but he hit the mark that he needed to hit last year, and he's hit that the last 2 seasons. I am comfortable saying Jonathan Isaac's going to be healthy and going to be able to play 60 plus games in a season. I am comfortable saying that. Just as I'm comfortable saying that the Magic will be a better defensive team with him on the floor. It's still just going to be about, and this is what the elite teams do, they don't have zeros on offense. They don't have guys who are just complete zeros on one side of the floor. And so the Magic, if they're going to be an elite team, cannot have him as a zero. He has to give them something. And last year, just frankly, Jonathan Isaac gave them nothing. And that's probably a little crueler than it needs to sound, but that's the truth. He was so bad with the shots. He was just not moving particularly well and just doesn't have much of an offensive game. So if he's not making those spot up threes, he's not sitting in the dunker spot. He's not a hard roller to the basket. The Magic used him as a catch and shoot 3-point shooter, and the guy shot low 20s from threes. That cannot happen again. But if Jonathan Isaac gets back to where he was in 2020, 2019, if he gets back to that level and he's defending the way we're used to Jonathan Isaac defending, all of a sudden, this team's very different. He's very different. And the Magic can do some very, very different things. That is ultimately what's on the table for the Orlando Magic right now. That is ultimately what we'll be focused on and what we want to see from this team is them take that step up. And if the Magic do that, they should be able to accomplish a lot. And that just gets back to it all again. Who has to step up? How are the Magic going to get these young players to step up? This is the challenge for the upcoming season. We'll talk about more players that could be X factors in the season coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by friends over at 5 Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. With how hot it is right now in Central Florida, it doesn't take very long for you to feel like you need to take a nap, to feel like you need to get out of the sun. But we all need our vitamin D. We all love to play golf, especially maybe this time of year. Whatever you're doing outdoors, stay hydrated, stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. It's really, really that simple. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5, hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. So whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. It is obviously not just these two players that have to step up. And you know, it's very easy to say, like, let's just throw out a lot of last year's stats. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane are going to do a lot of scoring. I would expect Paolo and Franz to account for 50-plus points per game. I'd expect Jalen Suggs and Desmond Bane to account for somewhere between 30 and 40 points per game. That gets you to 90 right there. The Magic have to find 20 to 25 more points per game throughout the rest of their roster. So, you know, Wendell Carter should be up around 10. He'll take about half of that, 10 or 12. Tyus Jones will probably get around 10 or 12, get around, 7, 8, 9, 10 per game as well. Anthony Black should be around 10 per game. Mo Wagner will be around 10 per game. Goga Bitadze, when he's healthy, should get 6, 7, 8 per game. It'll all add up because those top guys are going to be doing so much work. But again, the issue is, we don't know how this offense is going to work, and we don't know if the problem is actually the Magic's offense and not the players within said offense. That's going to be a big test this season. The Magic cannot have a bad offense. If the Magic have a bad offense, we're going to have problems here. And by bad, I mean abysmally bad. I'm not expecting this team to suddenly become an offensive juggernaut, although maybe it will. Maybe Desmond Bane will change things that drastically. And again, injuries will play a role in all these things as well. Orlando is going to need solid, consistent scoring from Wendell Carter, from Anthony Black, and they're going to need something from Jonathan Isaac. I mentioned Jonathan Isaac's shooting numbers. Shot 25.8% from three last year. He's going to have to be above 30%, obviously, but he only averaged 5.4 points per game last season. The guys at the Magic are going to really need to step up are young players stepping into bigger roles. And this is what you want from your young players. We're going to get into Eurobasket stuff here in a bit. Georgia plays their first friendly game tomorrow on Monday. They're playing a closed-door scrimmage against Israel. Hopefully we'll get some word. And Israel is in Eurobasket this year, so they're playing another Eurobasket team. Hopefully and they've got Dede Avdia, and they've got some good players on that Israeli team. We'll see. Well, hopefully we'll hear stats and have an understanding of what Goga Bitadze is doing. Germany will play Slovenia, they were scheduled to play them on Friday. I don't think that Friday game is happening. They'll play Sunday for sure against Slovenia. So next week in this spot, we'll talk Franz Wagner. But I think one of the big things is going to be Tristan da Silva. Last year, Tristan da Silva averaged only 7.2 points per game, shot 33.5% from three. He tailed off as the season went on. It's a big year for Tristan da Silva. He's going to be relied on to play. He's going to get minutes in this team. And it looks like, I was a little skeptical he was going to make the German national team. It looks like he's making the Eurobasket team. It looks like he's going to play at Eurobasket this year. So I am intrigued to see how da Silva fits in with the plan. I am intrigued to see how da Silva plays in general, and to see if he can fill that role as a 3-and-D shooter, which the Magic very, very clearly need, just someone who fills in gaps. If da Silva takes that big step, because you look, the Magic played him a lot last year. They saw what his potential could be. He won them games last year. If da Silva takes that step up, the Magic really do have an intriguing roster. And again, we don't know what the rotations are going to be. We don't know how Jamal Mosley is going to meet out minutes. I think he should avoid playing a 10-man rotation. Would not shock me if he is playing a 10-man rotation again, especially at the beginning of the season. And again, injuries will happen. We'll see who steps in and steps out over the course of the season. But when this team is fully healthy, Tristan da Silva is going to be a valuable player and an important player on this team. There is no avoiding it. There's no getting around it. Again, like we expect Tyus Jones is just going to put in numbers. He's going to put up numbers. Will he be an impactful player? I think that is one of the key questions. Phoenix was just not a good defensive ecosystem for him, just generally not a good ecosystem for him in general. But again, we're going to find out if the problem is the Magic's offense. If the Magic can't figure out a way to make a decent offense with these guys, the problem is going to be tactics, and we're going to need to ask, for a much bigger offensive overhaul, because the Magic have the talent to be a better offensive team. And if it's just, it has to work. But very, very clearly, like, Orlando is trying to build something here. And now it's just about players stepping up to the plate, taking that next step, making that next stage, and delivering for this team. And that's the part we don't know. Honestly, again, back to that opening point, we don't know how good this Magic team can be. And a lot of that is just they've never done it before. There's a lot of people very excited about this Magic team. I think everyone expects them to take the step of winning a playoff series, being a top seed in the East, being a team that has home court advantage and winning a playoff series. That was the goal last year. Obviously, the Magic didn't accomplish that. That is like the demand this season. The Magic cannot function if they don't win. The Magic are in big, big trouble if they don't win a playoff series next year. They're very capable of doing so. But asking this team, are you ready to contend? Are you ready to win a championship? There's doubt about that because they haven't done anything close to that yet. No one on the roster has. At least last year they had Contavious Caldwell-Pope who had done it. No one on the roster has made that deep playoff run before. Desmond Bain won a playoff series. That's about it. That's going to be the challenge for the Magic now. And I think Tyus Jones was on that team as well. That's going to be the challenge for the Magic, is to prove that they can do something that they haven't done before. And to do that, they're going to need players who haven't done it before to step up into bigger roles and deliver for this team. It's an exciting time. These are the challenges you want. I want to make this clear. This is not to say it's not to say I think the Magic can't do it. These are the challenges you want for young players. These are the challenges you want for young teams. Go out and prove it. But if the Magic are going to accomplish these goals, that is what it's going to take. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You, of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the thumbnails you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device for the latest on the Orlando Magic. You can also check us out. You can also check us out on YouTube. Search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out our Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, go check out the Locked On NBA podcast, because just because it's the summer, just because it's August. There is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, barring breaking news or anything like that, we're going to talk positive. We've been talking about the ways that Paolo and Franz need to improve. We're going to get into why they're awesome already and don't need to change. Well, they need to change, but they're awesome already, and you should be excited because I need to spread some positivity in this world. We'll do that on our next episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.